But what that was an imperial settlement. And I tell you honestly, I've had to think it out myself a lot, because in 1945 I happened to be in Egypt. I was a pilot. And I'd been very concerned about the Holocaust. My family brought Jews over to Britain and so on and so on. And I knew there were some Jewish settlements in Palestine. So I wrote and said I'd like to visit one of them. And I spent a night in a settlement near the Sea of Galilee. And that night, it collapsed. Actually, I was rowing in the Sea of Galilee. It's extraordinary. And in a rowing boat, and the man said to us, an old Jew said, the war's over. I didn't believe it. We went back to the settlement, and all these Jewish refugees from all over the world danced their national dances. It was very, very moving. Then somebody said something in Hebrew. I said, what did he say? He said he's announced the 3 English pilots will dance an English national dance. I can only tell you that Books a Daisy is still here. I say this because nobody could argue that what we're saying is hostility to the Jews as Jews. It's Zionism that is what it's about. Zionism is an agent of American culture. Other dangers which I must mention. You probably know that Netanyahu and Olmert himself, the Israeli leaders, have threatened and want to attack Iran. They want to attack Iran because Iran wants nuclear power. Now, I've got a bit of history on that. In 1976, I was sent to Iran as energy minister, had 3 hours with the Shah. What was American policy then? To persuade the Shah to adopt nuclear power. I mean, the hypocrisy is so great. And then the Israelis say, Iran might develop nuclear weapons. Well, I'm against nuclear weapons, but who's got them? Israel's got them. Israel is the 5th most powerful nuclear weapon state in the world. And if there is an argument, and I'm sure I would agree with this completely, we should be demanding a nuclear-free Middle East. That would include the end of Israeli weapons. And you know what the Israelis did when that guy Mordecai Vanunu, who worked in Dimona, which was their establishment, when he came to Europe and told us as well, the Israelis kidnapped him and put him in solitary confinement, and he still can't even leave the country. And everybody knows that Israel has a nuclear arms, huge nuclear arm, and the Americans are not prepared to admit it. They say it is said that the Israelis, everybody knows what's happened. So it isn't just Gaza and the continuation of the settlements that have been referred to, the occupation of East Jerusalem, which under the settlement belongs to the Palestinians. It isn't just that, but don't imagine that's the end of it. It goes further. Israel wants to dominate the Middle East, and the United States will be ready to see that happens. So it is a huge job we've taken on, and I think it's one that is of fundamental importance to the future, not just of the people there, but also of the future of the world, because if this goes wrong, you could have another nuclear explosion. I've often wondered, whether countries that have nuclear weapons would ever dare to use them. I resigned from the front bench 50 years ago as a spokesman for defence because I couldn't ever contemplate the use of nuclear weapons. And I don't know whether even Gordon Brown, if he was told to press the button, whether he's as a son of the Kirk, he would be ready to do it. But the one country I think might be prepared to use nuclear weapons is Israel. I can imagine that happening under certain circumstances, and therefore in that sense Israel is what's called a rogue state. Israel is a threat to the existence of the people of the Middle East. And what Caroline said about the talks between Fatah and Hamas, that's desirable, but it's got to be on the basis that the Israelis recognize the existence of Palestine, which they have never, ever, ever done. And to the hypocrisy of saying they don't recognize Israel when there is no mutual recognition. I must tell you also, I'm a bit disappointed with the Egyptian government. I tell you why, because when I first did Egypt, I told you in 1945, a lawyer came up to me on a train and he said, Britain has occupied Egypt since 1888. Get out. And I agree with him. He was a bit surprised. And at the time of the Suez War, when Israel, in connivance with Britain, attacked Egypt, we had massive demonstrations in London against the Suez War in support of Egypt, and now Egypt's sold out and gone along with the Americans in being really very, very difficult in making it hard for supplies to get through at Rafah, though George Galloway has succeeded in getting through. I don't know if anybody knows about that, but I went when it was all launched. And it was an amazing thing. What was it, 110 vehicles with £1 million worth of goods went through North Africa, picked up the goods. It was a wonderful thing. And that's another example of the BBC. They never even report. That is an utter disgrace. And then the MI5 arrested 3 drivers in order to divert attention to suggest that George Galloway was going like some Taliban mission to blow something. No, I mean, these are serious points. And of course, I'll tell you another reason why we've got to take an interest in this, and that is because all this alleged war on terrorism is taking away our civil liberties. Don't think this is just something that's happening everywhere else. I mean, Algeria will be tortured and can't ever find out what it's about. It was under a control order. I mean, funny enough, I was stopped and searched the other day under the Prevention of Terrorism Act. To tell you about it, not that I was frightened anyway, but I was driving the House of Commons and a woman summoned me over, and did have quite a few police, and she said, I'm searching you under the stop and search provisions of the Prevention of Terrorism Act. What's your name? So I said, Tony Benn. She said, how do you spell that? I said, what is your address? What's your telephone number? What's your mobile number? What's your date of birth? What's your postal code? And I was very polite, and I went away, and I gave her a little bit of paper saying I had been stopped. So I wrote to Jackie Smith and said, how long will that record be kept? And will it be on a database? Secondly, if I have an ID card, will anyone with my ID card be able to discover that I've been interrogated? Thirdly, will you share all this information with the Americans and the Europeans, which we do? And fourthly, if I'm ever stopped and asked anywhere in the world, have you been interrogated under the Prevention of Terrorism, what do I say? But an incredible letter back. First of all, she said, there'll be a paper record for a while of that. We don't have a database, she said. You don't share this information with the Americans and Europeans. I mean, I know for a fact that isn't true. And finally, she said, you can, if ever asked, you can say you haven't been interrogated. Don't try the Home Secretary to tell a lie. This is really a threat to our security. So don't think it's difficult to get this case across to other people. I think it's a fantastic thing. I don't know what it is about Brighton. I don't, is it all conferences encouraging to come to this meeting? Whenever I come to Brighton, I go, we're really excited. And at my age, that's my judgment. Back to us every evening, when we look back on this campaign upon which in which we engage, not just here but all over the world, will be one of the factors that brought justice to the Palestinians who've been treated like dirt since Israel was established and tried to drive them out of their native land. Thank you for listening.